Algebra 1, 0.6. We're going to talk about the percent proportion. What is a percent? Does anybody know what a percent is? Percent? Give me something, an example of a percent. Yeah, Kathy. 25%. But what does 25% really mean? What's that? It's 1/4. That would be as a fraction. Rio?
It's like part of 100.
Part of 100. Is that what you're going to say, Fritz? Okay. Yeah, it's a ratio, guys. It's a ratio of a number. Oops. Number out of 100. So it's kind of compared to 100. So when I say 25%, I really mean 25 out of 100. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to switch or express each percent as a fraction or mixed number. So in this case, we're not going to leave it as improper. We will switch it over to a mixed number. It's one of the few times that we'll probably talk about something like that. So, what would 79% be? After what we just talked about right above. 79 out of 100. Now, we also probably should talk about what does that look like as a decimal? Maddie. It's 0.79, right? 0.79 is a decimal. But yes, 79 out of 100 is the fraction. The question you probably should really ask yourself is that fully reduced? Is 79 divided by 100 reduced? I think so. Part B. Part B, what would that look like as a fraction? Logan.
1 and 7 over 100.
Ooh, he goes straight to 1 and 7 out of 100. Is he correct? How did he get a 1 out of that? Matt? It's over 100. Now, maybe for us, that maybe we should go to improper first. And remember, the improper then would be 107 divided by 100. And 100 goes into 107 how many times? Once. Leftovers, 7 of them. So you have 7 out of 100. In both of those cases, is it fully reduced? Yes. And might as well, what's for fun, what's the decimal of 107%? Kathy? It's 1.07. Okay, we've done 2 of these now. What's the rule for switching to decimals? What's the rule? What are we actually doing? How do we get 0.79 and 1.07? What am I doing? Yeah, Charles. I'm moving the decimal 2 places to the left. So that's why it goes from the back of the 9 to the front of the 7. It's the back of the 7 and move it 1, 2, and therefore we get it 1.07. So let's start off with converting to a decimal on 0.5% first. What would that look like? So move it over 2 times, yes? So then I'd have 0.12 zeros with a 5, right? Now I heard someone over here say something how to switch that to a fraction. How do I switch that to a fraction? Using the same method we've been doing for the improper fractions. Luke?
0.5 over 100.
0.5 over 100. I don't necessarily know if I like that. Why? What am I mixing here? Right, we're mixing decimals and fractions. So therefore, we either have to go one to the or to the other. We already have a decimal, so we know what that is. Let's keep this as a fraction. How can I make a 0.5 a nice number? Fritz?
Instead of simplifying it, you would do the opposite.
Okay, I can see what you're saying. What do you mean by that, though?
Like, doubling the numerator and the denominator.
Right. To get 0.5 away, we multiply it by 2. So what I do to the top, though, I need to do to the... And so you end up with 1 over 200. Can I write that as a mixed fraction? No, because it's a proper fraction already. Okay, this is the percent proportion. It's a ratio of a part of something to the whole is equal to the percent written as a fraction. Wow. So they have here this little phrase here that you got part divided by whole. That's just the naming of it. So you got A over B equals P over 100. Well, P out of 100 is the percent, guys, right? So they're saying that this ratio will be the same. That means if I can have two things where A is smaller or the part of the group of B, it will contain some fraction out of 100, or some value out of 100 we'll call the percent. That's a little difficult to remember sometimes. But if I do have that set up, I can cross multiply and I'll be able to solve for P, A, or B if given two of them. What I like to say is the phrase I have written there. The part is what percent of the whole? And if you can remember that phrase, you could write this down. Part equals percent times whole. And I think if you have this phrase right here, there's only three things. You have to know what part you're talking about, what's the percent, or what's the whole, what's the group. The part equals the percent times the whole. And so, if you notice, a lot of our problems are set up in that exact style. 10 is 25% of 40. So, how can I set this up? The thing you need to ask yourself is, which one's the part, which one's the percent, and which one's the whole? The part is always the something that is going to be part of the group. It's kind of weird. But the part is not the whole thing. The percentage, if it tells you the percentage, it always usually has a percentage sign after it. That's one of the easiest ones to find. The whole, guys, is to be of something. And if you're of something, that something is the larger group, which is the whole thing. So, 10, it happens to be the what? The part, because it is something. 40 is the whole, because this is of 40. And obviously, 25% is the percent. So I am just going to place that into here, this equation. And does 10 equal 25% times 40? Now the question is, I can't put 25% on my calculator. Some calculators you can. We don't use it as 25%. We convert it to what? 0.25. 0.25. In this equation, guys, maybe put a little arrow here that says as decimal. You need it as a decimal. 10 equals 0.25 times 40. And you ask yourself, is 0.25 times 40 equal to 10? Bless you. Check it. And the answer should be yes. Example 2. I want you to find the part. I'm specifically telling you that the part is the one that's missing. I'm not always going to. I'm just going to say solve it. So 40% of 30 is what number? Well, it's pretty easy to see which one's the percent. Which one's the percent? 40 is the percent. That means of 30. So 30 has to be the whole. And what number is the part? Now this is what I want you to do. Every time you use the equation, I want you to write it down in the words first. So yes, that does take time. I do want you to write part equals percent times whole. Because just like any other equation, if you write it down, it's really easy then to play coach and substitute the pieces into where they belong. Kathy, you have the answer. Let's fill her in. So, part is again what? Do we know the part? Oh, so can we call it X? Can we call it N? Can we call it anything we want? Right? Percent? It's 40, but we're not going to use 40. We're going to use 0.40 or 0.4. I'll put 0.40 for us. And then that is going to be times 30, because 30 was the whole. And what is 0.4 times 30? Take your calculator out, and you're like, oh, X is equal to 12? You're done. The next problem, it says find the percent. So now your goal is to find the percent. It says, Kelsey took a survey of students in her lunch period. 42 out of the 70 students surveyed said their family had a pet. What percent of the students had pets? Now again, you can set it up using the first one with the ratios, or you can use the sentence. I'm going to use the sentence. Part equals percent times the whole. And now we start to fill it in. Which one's the part? Which one is the part of the group? Gus? It's 42 because 42 out of something, right? And it happens to be, we don't know the percent. I'll just leave the percent sign there. Out of how many? What's the whole? 70. Now, I got to get the percent sign, our little variable there, by itself. How do you accomplish that? How do you undo multiplication? Fritz?
70 divided by 42.
Ooh. Careful, you went the wrong way. We got to get the percentage by itself. Get ready? Yeah, say it louder. It is 42 divided by 70. But guys, I got to get the percent sign by itself. I can't just divide one side by 70. I need to divide both sides by 70, so the 70s will cancel. So your percent is 42 out of 70. That's a 42. 42 out of 70. That's a fraction. That's not a percent. So maybe there's an advantage to using the ratio method, because it'll tell you exactly what it is when you're done. This one, I need to take that ratio, convert it to a decimal, which is what? Does anybody have that decimal? Logan?
0.6.
So it's 0.6, and 0.6 then gets converted to a percentage. What is that converted to a percentage then, Parker? 60%. So 60% of the students have pets. This one, find the whole. 67.5 is 75% of what number? You know you're looking for the whole because it says of what number. So I go and write down my phrase again. What was that again? Part equals percent times whole. Hey, look at that. It's actually in the same order, isn't it? So which one's the part? 67.5 equals what percent? Can I right away switch that? So it's 0.75 times, maybe we'll use W for the whole. And how do I get 0.75 times W to get rid of it? What do I have to do both sides? Divide by 0.75. I would use a calculator for this. It might trip some of us up if we don't. And W then equals, Charles, 0.1 repeated. Something about that doesn't sound right. That seems like it got smaller. 0.1 would be 1/10. So that seems a little low. Anybody else not answer? Yeah, Savannah. 90. Does that sound better? So 90. So 90 is the whole number. So 75% of 90 is 67.5. And that is it, guys. Using that phrase is going to be able to help you through the whole process. Your homework for point 6 is on page P21, 1 through 29 odds. They should go pretty quick, and you guys have some time. Have a great day.